Good morning. I'm Brett, and welcome to my backyard. This morning we have come out here to check on our onions, and this is one of the tubs. We've got several here, a few different varieties. We got our reds, our yellows, and our whites. Um, but we've been monitoring them real closely because we're getting close to time for harvest. Usually, beginning of June or so here in East Texas is a good time to harvest your onions. That could fluctuate a little bit, but it looks like this tub of reds might be getting close to go, so we're going to check them out today. And the things we're looking for is, while your onions are growing, you'll notice that the leaves on them will be good greenish color, vertical color, usually growing around 18 to possibly 24 inches tall there. And I can't remember if I just mentioned they were vertical or not, but we had some wind come in earlier, and so you might be able to notice that this group here is leaning a bit. And so we'd been just watching them, because a leaned over onion doesn't necessarily mean it's time to harvest. There are a few factors we can look for. One of them is the tops of them starting to brown, and your first set of leaves next to the onion bulb itself there will start to brown and die back. And then the second thing, as we mentioned a minute ago, is about, it's not just leaning, but they will actually start to lay over. And so if you can see this one here, usually we're going to come up about 2 inches. You see about your second knuckle here. So it's about 2 inches. That's about perfect. And we want to fill there. And if that's starting to get soft there, this one's soft compared to this one here. This one's still pretty firm. It might be starting to soften just a little bit, but when they start to get soft here, that's a good sign that it's time to harvest. You'll also notice that it's not just the entire stalk leaning, but from the bulb coming up about 2 inches, they will lay over at a 90-degree bend here. And that's what this one is doing here this morning. So that, coupled with starting to get a little bit of browning on the uppers, our lower leaves are browning and dying back. The skin is starting to flake a little bit here. So we're going to see if we can pull this one gently here just to check it. And just because you got your first onion doesn't necessarily mean it's time for all of them. Now, with onions, one good thing is you can harvest an onion all along the way of its growing cycle. If you harvest them early, you'll get more of your green onions, your tops. Some of these are still good here. We weren't harvesting for green onions much this year. We got a lot greener tops on our other tubs going back that way. But we were trying to get the bulb going. And so, although we may have some green tops we cut up for dinners in this, the bulb is what we're naturally going for. And so let's see here if we can get in between here. Now this tub, I usually try to go at least 4 inches or so between the onions to give them enough room to grow and get a good sized bulb. This tub I may have gotten a little closer with, and that may be part of the reason why they're getting a little close together, that they're maturing a little faster. Okay, that one's still holding on. But when you go to pull them up, sometimes if they're getting soft here, they'll be a little harder to pull. Now, okay. Now that may be a little early. I'm gonna go ahead and show you here. But we wanted to check. You see these roots are nice and white still. That means it's still growing. It's still getting some good growth. Whenever the onion is really ready to come out, these roots here will start to brown as well. And we may be getting a little browning right there. So like I said, we may be just a little bit early on this one, but since we've already picked it, we're gonna go ahead and enjoy that one today. And like I said, there are a few steps that you can look at to see if it's quite time to harvest. And we've got a few of these laying at 90 degrees, but a lot of them may be starting to lean but not ready. So these might need a few more days to sit out here and mature. But I'm gonna go ahead and show y'all with this one what we do when we harvest. Now you can leave the green zone if you wish, but either way we want to trim these roots here. I'm gonna trim them. I don't want them falling in buckets. I'm gonna trim them over here. But when we're trimming our roots, we don't want to go down flush with the onion itself. We want to leave a little bit of those roots just sticking out, kind of like a wire brush, because they'll go ahead and dry them back. But if we get right flush against the onion, we could end up damaging the bulb a little bit, and then it could start the rotting of the bulb. And so, I don't know if can y'all see there, I've trimmed them. I've left just a little bit, maybe 1/8 of an inch there of the roots, so as to not damage the onion bulb itself. But that'll dry them back. And then with this one here too, I'm going to go ahead and cut the top off of this one. And so that part about 2 inches up where we were showing it was getting soft, that's about where we want to trim, maybe just below that. Get that out of the way. And so you see there, it's still a little wet there. Notice we left a little bit of that sticking up, once again, to not damage the bulb itself here. And that'll go ahead and dry on up as well. And so there's a couple of ways to store these, and whenever we get more of them harvested, then we'll do that in our next video. I'll show y'all how to dry these to be able to store them for several months. You should be able to get at least 3 months out of these once they're properly cured and dried. But this one here, we're just gonna go ahead and use it today. And so if the other thing to remember, if you're getting ready to dry them, you probably want to leave this dirt on them. You don't want to get in there and damage the bulb any. I'm gonna go ahead and just peel that flaky layer off the top there, because like I said, we're gonna go ahead and enjoy this one today. Oh, look at that. Look at that nice red color sticking out from between there. And so, well, that's a good looking onion. I think we're gonna have a good harvest this year. It's not quite a baseball size, but that's a pretty good size onion there. Maybe these others will get a little bit more size over the next week or so. And the last thing I want to leave you with is, once you start to notice that these are bending over here, we're gonna quit watering them, because once they're starting to mature, we don't want to do anything to cause these bulbs to rot in the ground here. And so we want to quit watering them, let them go ahead and lay over. They'll start curing there in the ground for a few days, and then we'll move them over to a rack to cure them a little bit more so that they last a long time. And that's how we're going to be able to store onions for the rest of the year to use until our next onion harvest. So I hope y'all enjoyed that little video today. Please share if you haven't already, and we'll catch y'all next time.